Welcome to Worthington Home, a channel usually focused on thrifting, antiquing, and vintage home decor. But today, I thought we'd do something different. We've come to Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts, and we're on the hunt for historic home decor inspiration. We've come right to the source. We're going to see lots of old buildings that feature beautiful old wallpaper, historic paint colors, primitive furniture and period room arrangements, classic gardens, New England architecture, and so much more. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Sturbridge Village. Old Sturbridge Village is the largest outdoor history museum in the Northeast. It depicts a rural New England town from the year about 1790 until 1838. The village recreates the look and feel of a historic landscape and includes more than 40 buildings, such as houses, working farms, meeting houses, a school district, country store, mills, and so much more, all along the Quinnebog River. If you haven't been here before, I hope you enjoy this walk back through time. And if you have been here before, I hope it brings back some fond memories. More than anything else, I hope it gives you some ideas for your home, just as I hope to get some for mine. If you're wondering how Sturbridge Village came to be, here's the story. In 1926, industrialist Albert B. Wells of Southbridge, Massachusetts began collecting primitive antiques. He was especially fond of old tools, everyday furnishings, and gadgets. And of course, as these things do, his collection grew rapidly. Years later, his son convinced his father to recreate an old village complete with operational shops in an effort to better display his precious collections. As a result, the family purchased the Quinnebog farm. It was an ideal property because it already contained an old sawmill, a grist mill, and a mill pond. The mill pond was dug in 1795 and still powers the mills today. The family continued to add historic new buildings from all over New England to the property until it was ready to open to the public in 1946. As the village grew, so did public interest in seeing history brought to life. The village welcomed its 1 millionth visitor in 1957, and since then, many more programs, exhibits, and special events have been added. This is a recreated graveyard using headstones from the period. Some of them are real headstones and others are reproductions, but they're very typical of what you would have seen back in the day. And when you look at them closely, you can see that they are so beautiful. Here we are going into the meeting house, and we're not going to spend too much time here because there's a special program underway and I don't want to cause an interruption. But I did want to show you how beautiful this bright green paint, it's almost like a Kelly green, looks against the bright white clapboards. I think it's really unexpected and very elegant. So that's one takeaway from me, how beautiful green and white look together on exterior buildings. Now we're approaching the cabinet making shop, which was constructed using old and new building methods, opening in around 2021. And it was really meant to showcase the tools and techniques used in period furniture construction. So there's lots of old tools here. Some of the things are newer. And I love the way it gives you the sense that the cabinet maker had just stepped away for a minute. All of the debris is on the floor. We have an interpreter here giving demonstrations. And it makes for an overall really interesting experience for the viewer. We're moving along to the Asa Knight store, originally built in Vermont in 1810. It's meant to show the important link between the small farming community and the outside world. Back in the day, this store stocked a large variety of products, and customers typically paid for their purchases with credit earned by selling things like butter, cheese, and knitted socks. The storekeeper, in turn, sold those items in the cities where he bought the goods to stock his shelves. You can see some of the merchandise that would have been on display in this store, like woolen broadcloth, cotton and linen, coffee, tea, and spices, fine imported porcelain, shoes, tools, brooms, paper goods, seeds, you name it, this store probably carried it. I really appreciate how well everything's laid out here. There are signs like the ones I'm showing you here. There's a map. You can do a virtual tour. You can follow the website. There's an audio tour. They've got it all covered. Here's the shoe shop. This building is adorable. It was built around 1860 and moved here from another spot in town in 1939. Apparently, shoes were big business in New England. After farming and textile manufacture, more New Englanders were employed in the shoe industry than any other occupation in the 1830s. I was surprised to learn that. Making shoes was a two-part process. Workers, usually young women, sewed the soft leather upper parts in their home. Then the shoes were completed in small shops where workmen sat at benches with their tools in a space like this one. Finished shoes were shipped to Boston and from there went all over the US and even as far away as Cuba, Haiti, and Chile for sale. I'm so glad I came here today. The weather is so perfect and it's not very crowded. So conditions are perfect and it's really fun to go through these beautiful historic homes and see the wonderful reproduction grounds. I'm loving it. I hope you're enjoying it too. Check out the huge stones used as steps into the district school. We've seen a lot of steps like this today. We're going to take just a quick look inside because there are a lot of kids around and I don't want to show them on camera. But this building was built in New Hampshire in 1810. The main room features the school's original desks, and you can see carved graffiti from generations of school children. A stove in the center of the room provides heat on cold days, and the wood for the stove is stored right in the entrance hall. Very convenient. I couldn't find any information about this outhouse that's located right next to the school, so I'm assuming it's a reproduction, but that might not be the case. At any rate, you can imagine just how unpleasant it would have been to have to use this place in the winter, or really, ever. Yikes. This kiln is amazing. It was built by old Sturbridge Village to resemble the kind of kiln that would have existed in the early 1800s. The pottery shop, however, is original. It was built in 1819 in Goshen, Connecticut, and moved here in 1962. It was built to create and fire redware pottery, which is so beautiful. I have some reproduction pieces myself. This shop was built by farmer and potter Harvey Brooks, and his initials can still be found on a small beam inside. He produced milk pans, cooking pots, and jugs, which he stamped with his name, and he also made bricks. Unfortunately, due to increasing competition from tinware and stoneware producers, he eventually went out of business in 1864 at age 85. Apparently, he was one of the last redware potters in the region. Now we're headed to part of Old Sturbridge Village known as the countryside, and I think you'll understand why when we get there. Here in the distance, you can see Freeman Farm, which was built in 1815 in Sturbridge, Massachusetts. And it's really interesting because the interpreters are doing some of the gardening and harvesting just like they would have back in the day. So let's take a little peek right up to the front of the house. It's so beautiful. In order to access the entryway, we're going to go just around this path. And while we do, I just want to invite you to appreciate the scenery in the way that I am as I'm walking here in real time. This reminds me so much of my old house in Woodbridge, Connecticut. It was the exact same color and roughly the same age. So let's take a peek inside. And I'm already seeing beautiful wallpaper, which is such a big part of why I'm here today. So let's get a really good look at it. The pattern is so intricate and so interesting. And I'm noticing that the painted woodwork doesn't exactly match the wallpaper, and yet it still looks really nice all together. This bed is so beautiful. And we have a very nice fireplace. It definitely is a focal point. And now we're moving into the kitchen section, and there is an interpreter working here, and she's describing the kinds of things that they would be baking in a summer kitchen. It is so hot in here, I don't know how she can even stand it. She told me that the long skirts actually protect her from some of the heat blowing behind her from the fireplace. Notice all of the disgusting flies crawling all over the food because screens weren't invented yet. Here we can see how pottery and baskets are used to store food, and I think it looks beautiful. And I'm appreciating how there is absolutely no plastic to be seen here. Everything is handmade with wood, and I love the different paint colors and how they complement each other. You can see some redware on that top shelf. And we'll move along here. This looks like an area where there was storage. We see some herbs drying. That's a great idea for anybody's kitchen. And of course, there's barrels and some crates and things because storage would have been really important. And here's a room full of firewood. And it strikes me that even though this was meant to be a useful space, it's still a really beautiful space in its simplicity. It has that really lovely primitive look that we associate with this era. And I like how these baskets are hung as well. This wood is so old, the planks are wide. They just don't make wood like this anymore. Now we're heading into what looks like some kind of sitting room, and it has beautiful wallpaper as well. Look at the vibrant pink. This somehow reminds me of like feathers and leaves and all kinds of interesting things. And I'm noticing again, it doesn't match exactly with the trim, and yet it all works together. So it makes for a beautiful space. There's some interesting things on this table. You can see there's like the starting of a quilt. So they definitely want the visitor to feel like they've just dropped by and that the family is maybe at home and just in a room around the corner. Look at that bonnet. Here's another beautiful fireplace. So pretty. This barn is right next to the Freeman house. Freeman was the last name of the original owner, by the way, Pliny or Pliny Freeman. This barn came from Charlton, Massachusetts, and was built around 1840. And it looks like there's a team of oxen getting ready to do farm chores. We're about to enter the Cooper shop, which was built around 1840 in Maine. It was owned by farmer and artisan James Nash. Inside, we can see all kinds of tools, casks, kegs, and pails used to make barrels. And barrels were really important in order to store and transport grain, apples, potatoes, meal, flour, cider, salted meat, all kinds of essential things. I just wanted to point out that there are lots of nature trails here, so if you're in the mood to take a nice walk through nature, this is a fantastic place to visit. You don't just have to come to see the museum buildings. But I'm going to head to the well-traveled road because I still have a few places to check out.
It's so picturesque here, and one of the things that really strikes me is how quiet it is. Even with all of the visitors, a lot of the incessant noise of our modern day is not here. There's no air conditioners or fans. There's no car sounds. It's lovely and quiet. Here's another beautiful building with the green shutters. It's such a nice combination.
We're about to enter the Bixby house, which was built in Massachusetts around 1808. It moved here in 1986 and is generally regarded as the best researched and restored home in the village. The Bixby family lived in this house from 1826 until the 1870s. 100 years later, a member of the family donated the home and many of its original furnishings to Old Sturbridge Village. The family patriarch was Emerson Bixby, a blacksmith who lived with his wife Laura and their daughters. Apparently, the family worked hard to make improvements to the home, including painting the house white with bright green trim called Paris green around 1840. I love this room. I love the wallpaper and the painted floorboards, the slippers peeking out from underneath this bed. Let's get a good look at this decor. It is so beautiful. This is the first time I've seen trim that matches the wallpaper. And in this room, we have different wallpaper and some artifacts in here that did belong to the Bixby family. So these are interesting to check out. They were excavated from the site. And here's another look at some of the walls. And you can see the red paint looks really pretty, even with the blue wallpaper. And this fireplace is stunning. I like the way the surround is painted black in contrast with the red. And I'm afraid I have to open one of these cupboards. I love the built-ins. There are lots of built-ins in the homes of Sturbridge Village because I guess back in the day, every square inch of your home had to serve a purpose. Everything was functional as well as beautiful. And here's another beautiful room. This table looks like it's set for tea time. And here's another beautiful fireplace and different wallpaper. I like the green, the sort of sagey green trim in this room. And look at the bonnet hanging off the chair. Again, it gives this feeling like the family is somewhere nearby and they just stepped out for a moment. We're standing in the blacksmith shop now, and you can see the interpreter giving a demonstration in the back. This one was built in Massachusetts around 1810. And apparently, most New England towns had several blacksmiths to make and repair tools, shoe horses, repair machinery, and create all kinds of hardware and other essential metal items used in the community. I'm assuming this is a horse trough, or maybe even meant to provide water to different kinds of livestock wandering by. It would make a lovely garden feature, wouldn't it? The Countryside Gallery seems to be a modern building built to appear old. It certainly fits right in here, and it looks like it's being used as an exhibition space. Currently, there's a lot of information about period lighting, beginning with the use of simple candles made at home and moving on to more sophisticated lighting methods. In our modern age, it's so easy to take things like lighting, plumbing, and heating for granted. Here at Sturbridge Village, I even have a greater understanding of how lucky we are just to have screens in our windows. Have you ever been to a carding mill before? This one was built in South Waterford, Maine around 1840. It was moved in its original condition with much of its machinery still intact in 1963. Carding mills prepared wool for spinning by brushing the fibers evenly to align them. The carding machines took only 20 minutes to do this. In contrast, a person would need a full day to produce similar results. So you can appreciate how time-saving this machinery really was. As the industrial age took hold, it was replaced with other kinds of machinery. There used to be hundreds of carding mills all throughout New England, but this is the only water-powered carding mill that survives today. We're passing by the mill pond now. This was one of the original features when this property was first purchased. You can see this beautiful covered bridge that allows pedestrians to walk by. We're about to enter another building, but I want to call your attention to something really interesting. You see this flood level mark? In 1955, Hurricane Diane created floodwaters that broke dams in surrounding towns and flooded Sturbridge Village. In fact, the flooding stranded 15 staff members. The Freeman farmhouse that I showed you before was flooded, and the covered bridge was swept off its foundation. Helicopters kept staff members supplied for 3 full days until the waters receded. The damage was estimated to be $250,000 in 1955. I don't even want to know what that would be today. But village employees managed to reopen in just 9 days. I had never heard that story before, and I was amazed that the only sign of what happened is the simple marker on the building that I showed you before. We're about to enter the grist mill, which was one of the first buildings built here at Sturbridge Village in 1939. There actually was a much older grist mill on this site, and this building replaced it. The massive millstones and other parts we see today came from the Porter Grist Mill in Hebron, Connecticut. And like the carding mill, the grist mill harnessed the power of water to run its massive machinery. Grist mills were essential in the early 19th century by grinding grain into flour and meal for baking or for feeding livestock. And just this way, you can see the huge water wheel. I find this mesmerizing. And I think we're gonna go around the side so we can get a much better look at this. This surely isn't a sight you see every day in our modern age. And you can't help but feel we're really missing out because of it. Because this is so fascinating. I'm feeling a little bit hypnotized. What about you? Here's the inner workings of the grist mill. It is fascinating. Here's a little diagram. So it seems like
to tear myself away, but we have more to see, so let's keep going. Bye, Grist Mill.
Our next stop is the Sawmill, and that makes sense because we're in the mill neighborhood of Old Sturbridge Village. They reproduced this mill in 1984, but it's based on what was once the oldest surviving sawmill in the area, the Nichols Colby Sawmill of Bow, New Hampshire, which was sadly destroyed in a 1938 hurricane. Mother Nature is no respecter of history, am I right? This sawmill is fully operational and is used to cut lumber for Old Sturbridge Village and other historic sites. Let's have one more look at this amazing building before we move on. We're going to make our way to the center village. But let's take the scenic route by way of Riverwalk.
When I came here today, my goal was really to show you the beautiful interiors of these homes to inspire us to style our own homes. But it turns out that the scenery is so beautiful, nature is everywhere, and I think in the 1830s, you couldn't separate the interiors of your home with nature itself. They were intertwined. And I think that lesson's really coming home to me today. It's so interesting. I'm so glad I came here today.
You can see Bullard's Tavern on the right-hand side. It was built by Sturbridge Village in 1947 and serves as a visitor center and restaurant. Here's a little look around so you can see where we are. We're by the village green or common. Let's take a quick peek inside Bullard's Tavern. Here's one of the dining rooms. It's not open right now, but it is all laid out like it's ready for guests. And I'm just sort of taking in the decor details, like this beautiful wooden chandelier. And I also really like this sconce. I bet the metal backing, the tin backing, gives it a nice reflective property. It's finally time to view one of my favorite homes in Sturbridge Village, Salem Towne House, a federal house built in Massachusetts around 1796 and moved here in 1952. Right from the start, as we walk in, you can see the ornamental gardens that were becoming popular among prosperous families. I love the brick sidewalks giving a grand entrance to the house and gardens. And you can see trellises, arbors, and other pretty garden structures scattered throughout the grounds. This house was built to be impressive, and I would say it succeeded. This wallpaper is so fabulous, and I love the woodwork. This home was inherited by Salem Towne Jr. and his wife Sally in 1825. They ran a large household with 7 children, farm laborers, hired women, and visiting relatives. The house's furnishings are so elegant, and they were costly in the day. You'll see that they feature a blend of European imports as well as New England-made goods. There's so much home decor inspiration here, so let's talk through it together. This floor cloth is so fabulous, and it would have held up a lot better than a rug, I would imagine. Can you imagine all of the mud and grime that you'd bring in from the streets back in the day? Here is a beautiful parlor. This home has several parlors. The trim work around the fireplace is stunning. And I love the curtains. The window treatments are so beautiful. It's got a sort of swag effect. And you know, I have to talk about the wallpaper. I just can't help myself. And this is especially beautiful. Oh my goodness, I would love something like this in my bedroom. I'm noticing how the wall art is held up with like ribbon. And I think that's a really pretty touch and something we could probably copy in our own homes, along with this dental molding. Moving on to another room, this is the south parlor. I'm really appreciating the beautiful furniture. That tilt-top table is such a different kind of size. And the table's all laid out. Again, we have the swag curtains and a theorem print right in the center. I always love a theorem print. The piano is fabulous, although it's probably something more along the lines of a pianoforte. I like the tiered table. And of course, we have all kinds of fireplace accessories. Nothing was left out of this room in terms of details and thought and care, like this built-in. And it's really nice that these built-in shelves have a door, so if you don't want somebody peeking in, you can close the door. And this floor covering is certainly not something you see every day. There's a lot of pattern happening here. Now we're in the east parlor, another beautiful room, this time with a striped rug and another fireplace. I like the portrait over the mantle, and I'm noticing that this armchair, it looks like a wingback chair, has such an interesting slip cover with the ties on the side, and I like the peacock fabric. And then there's a little inner room here built for storage. And they have some of their fine porcelain in here, which of course would have been really expensive in the early 1800s and probably imported from Europe. Here's another beautiful room. And I'm checking out this beautiful secretary, and I love the pattern on this wallpaper, especially the lattice work. Wow. And here we are in another room. This house is endless. There's more built-ins, there's more fabulous curtains, more wallpaper. I really love the way this table is laid out. There's some beautiful china there, and I like how the seat covers match the curtains, and I especially like these built-in window seats. They're unexpectedly narrow, but they're still really effective. Love the birds. We're looking at the kitchen right now. There are 2 kitchens in this house. This one is on the first floor, and then there's another one in the basement. And the stove was a relatively new innovation for its time. Let's take a walk up these very narrow stairs and see what we can find. I'm already seeing beautiful wallpaper, and this is in a room that was apparently meant for whomever worked in the kitchens. And even that individual got to enjoy some gorgeous wallpaper. Every room has a fireplace because, of course, that was essential for heat. And here's a sign about hired help and the kitchen bedchamber. Now we're entering a more formal space, and you can see that it's painted in a beautiful way. The ceiling is painted. There's astrological symbols. It looks like you're gazing at the night sky. And then when you look at the actual walls, it's like a walk through the forest. And then unexpectedly, a bed. This fireplace is so small for such a large space. I bet this room was really cold back in the day. And these paintings are beautiful. They look hand done, and they also look like they're in fragile shape. It really gives a magical feeling, though, when you walk through and you see this forest of trees. And I love the canopy on this bed. I think the hangings are so beautiful. Here's another bedroom in the next room. This is the parlor bedchamber. And we can see a hat box and some slippers under the bed. I love touches like that. There's a basin and pitcher set ready for use. And I love the bonnet and top hat on the dresser in the corner. Here's another beautiful bed with bed hangings. It's a lovely space. I guess the chairs were held against the side of the room so they could pull them out when they entertained. That's what the sign said. There's a very light color rug over these wide floor planks. And when we walk out, we see the second floor entryway and this beautiful wallpaper that we've already seen. And then this was the kitchen bedchamber. Well, that was amazing. We'll take a peek downstairs and then we'll get ready to make our way to the next stop. This is such a beautiful building. The barn was built by Old Sturbridge Village in 1955, so it's not as old as the house, but it certainly looks like it goes here. And you can see they keep their livestock out in this direction. And I see somebody in the last stall. Let's get a better look. Do you see him? It's a very handsome horse. These chickens are cracking me up. They seem to be enjoying themselves, so I guess that's a good thing. We're going into the Minor Grant Store and Bake Shop, originally built in Stafford, Connecticut in 1802. It moved to its present location in 1938 and was restored in the 1940s. It's lost most of its historic charm due to renovations. I wish I could have seen it in its original state. This building functions as one of the museum's gift shops, and it's pretty popular with visitors, especially children. Our next stop is Thompson Bank, built in Thompson, Connecticut around 1835, and it moved here in 1963. You'll notice it's designed in Greek Revival style and features astral lamps, a cast iron stove with classical columns, and a regulator clock attributed to clockmaker Simon Willard. There's also a counter, cashier's desk, and a granite-walled vault safeguarded by a huge iron door. While many of the buildings at Old Sturbridge Village were dismantled and reassembled after moving here, the Thompson Bank was moved in one piece aboard a flatbed truck. I would have loved to have seen that. Don't you love this little picket fence standing at the front of Fitch House? This home was built in Willimantic, Connecticut around 1737 and moved here in 1939, so it's one of the earliest structures. It's Cape-style home with a kitchen L off the back and several additions from around 1820. I really like this curtain tie back. And of course, the beautiful yellow wallpaper. It's so cheerful. There's some items belonging to the family displayed here in the case. And here's a really good look at the walls. The shelves are nice over the desk. And there's some pretty artwork over the fireplace mantle. Looks like this fireplace has had a lot of use. And even the door is beautiful with its big wide planks. Coming to the next bedroom, we can see this is a really simple space. Just a dresser and a trunk and a bed, but it certainly works. Let's look at the next space. This might be my favorite wallpaper of all. There is something about this cheerful pink color that really calls to me. The pattern is so sweet. It's like a field of flowers in the springtime. And the bed is pretty. It's got some painted details. I don't know a lot about the furniture in this house, but it certainly works in this space. I like the washstand in the back. And we have a sign just telling us a little bit about how bedrooms were used back in the day. And then here we have a more formal room. The color scheme is so unexpected, but it really works. Oh my goodness, there is some kind of summer camp or summer program going on right now with children and adults in costume dancing on the green. It's like a scene from long ago. I want to stay here and watch them for ages, but unfortunately, it's time to make my way back.
Well, I think I've seen what I came here to see, and it's time to hit the road, although I'm sad to do that. Let's take a look at this trellis behind me. This place is full of inspiration. I hope I did it some kind of justice. And I think my last stop is gonna be the gift shop, because who doesn't love a gift shop, right? I only bought one important thing at the gift shop. A coffee for the road. This will come in handy. There's been a lot of walking today.
I hope you enjoyed this walk through Old Sturbridge Village. If you made it this far in the video, please let me know if you had a favorite building or if you saw a particular element in one of the historic homes that inspired you in your own home. I would love to hear from you, and I hope to see you next Sunday. Bye for now.